What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the I Love Mondays show. We are here because we love Mondays. I am joined by somebody with one of the best smiles in the world,
Thank
Wendy
you.
Petties.
Yes. Hi. I'm so happy to be here. I love Mondays and mornings. So, you've got your audience maybe like,
I,
whoa.
I could just feel the waves coming off of them. They're like Mondays and mornings. What
Yes.
is going on? I
Yes.
asked
Yes.
her if she wanted coffee this morning. She's like, no, I got some water. I'm
I got
ready.
water. I'm good. I'm good. Yes. So thanks for having me. I'm excited about this conversation because I love what you do. You love what I do. So let's rock
We're,
it.
we are going to have some fun. So for all of you who saw the tagline, Wendy helps women get their money right with the tagline, Sexy Money Millionaires. Do you have where's your mug?
Oh my God. It's downstairs. It's downstairs.
No, you'll have to
I,
post a picture. She has the best mug ever. We're just
Oh
going to
my
leave that
goodness.
open
Yes.
loop for
Yes.
later.
I will post the picture. Yes. I have two mugs. Two mugs. I wonder if I can text my sister and see if she could bring it up
Sneak
to me
them.
because it is both of my mugs are awesome. Yes.
Well, Wendy, you are pretty awesome. I want to give you the floor to talk a little bit because I know a lot of people, like right now, we're going into tax time. She just got audited, but instead of freaking out about it, she sat back, had a glass of wine, and handled it with no sweat.
No sweat. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, first of all, I believe that you can turn anything into fun and pleasure, and it does a body good and it makes you clear and focused if you can turn anything into a pleasurable good time. And so I get this letter from the IRS that says, we're auditing your 2018 taxes. And it was not an ideal time, as though there ever is an ideal time for an audit, but it was really not a good time because my dad had just died. And so this was just a couple weeks ago. My dad died. I had just moved to a new city, so everything's in boxes. I moved from New York City to Las Vegas, and so everything was all over the place. And we're dealing with grief and dealing with my dad's illness and all of this. And I get this letter. Now, most people would be like, uh-oh, but I was like, first of all, I'm not assuming I did anything wrong, you know? Second of all, I'm thinking, well, let me go through this and see what I actually have to do because anything is able to be accomplished if you really attack it in the right frame of mind. And so I put on some music. I didn't get wine because I don't drink that much and I didn't have what I really wanted. So I just got some water and I got some watermelon in it. And I just kind of sat down with that, put on some music, opened the windows, and then started to go through it methodically. But I didn't panic. I wasn't afraid. And I knew I could ask for what I want, which is what a lot of people don't do. So I wrote them back and said, hey, I need some extra time. I'm not going to put myself in a frenzy to do this. I took a glorious bath. So I was ready and juicy and yummy to attack this. And then I just sat down and went through it methodically. But I'm not afraid of money, not afraid of diving in, not afraid of things that I don't know. And it's all because of this process that I take women through so that they can get comfortable with whatever it is and asking for what they want and getting it.
Well, okay, you just laid out a couple things. Asking for what you want and then
Yes.
getting it. How do
Yes.
you apply that to money? Let's leave the tax situation for a minute because I
Okay.
know people are like they hear the word taxes and literally everyone's like, "No."
No.
So let's
Right.
talk
Right.
about money because
Yeah.
money is much better. And I love your tagline. Like I remember the way that I met Wendy is we are in a networking group and I saw her tagline. I was like, I want to talk to her. Like she gets it.
Yeah.
So talk to
Yeah.
us a little bit about like where'd all this come from and what do you actually do to help women shift their relationship with money? Because I think everybody says, right, I want more money, I want more money, I want more money. And then they get really upset because they don't have what they're
Right.
looking for, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm gonna let you take that.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that in theory, people are like, oh, yeah, of course I want more money. But some of them are not willing or able to do what it takes. And so for me, I combine everything that I am, which is an MBA. So I have tactical skills. You need to earn more than you spend. Like it's basic math. You know what I mean? Like, let's get to that. Like, I have this business mind. Then I'm a psychologist. So I'm looking at things that you have learned, things that you have, there's things that we've learned, there's things that we've never learned, and there's things that we need to question. So the things that we've learned may need to be unlearned because some of them are stupid and crap and just dumb. There's things that we need to learn because our parents and grandparents didn't learn or didn't teach us. And then there's things you need to question, like, why do you think this? And is that really what you think, or did you get that from someplace? So we have the MBA, tactical things. We have the mindset things, because I'm a psychologist. But the drum roll, please, where I get sexy money is I'm a sexpert. I am a sex educator. I'm a licensed sex educator. And so what I do with that is I have learned that the better you feel about yourself, really, the more turned on you are. And this works mainly for women. I will tell you about men in a second, but mainly for women. The more turned on you are, the more you are apt to go after what it is that you want and get it. And it's not about like showing your boobs. So don't think that. It's about like feeling juicy and yummy and, and I could flirt with you and get whatever I want from you, but I don't use it for evil. But leaning into you and noticing things about you makes me feel good, makes you feel good, and we're more apt to be a partner in a partnership here. And so that helps to grow your money. It also helps with women. When we stay turned on, we are more clear, more focused, and more able to really, really focus on what it is that we want to do. So I put all those things together. I do a 12-week program, and it's called Sexy Money Club, and that's what we do. We learn how to get more money, more opportunities, more resources, and more experiences so that you can support your ideal life. That's what we do.
So what I heard you say is really about feeling comfortable in your own skin, getting excited about yourself and like how you feel. And I do agree. Like if I have 3 sisters,
yes.
If they want something and like especially it's usually a guy, but yes. I think you transfer it to money, right? Or yes. Maybe it's a girl, like it's a relationship. They're Absolutely. Like super turned on by person. Yes. I'm going for it. And like nothing stands like in their way. They're like doing all kinds of all the stuff, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do you transfer that to money? Because I think so many people have bad relationships with money.
Yes.
Right. Like it immediately, I don't want to talk about money. I don't want to talk about sales. Yeah. I want to talk about actually like putting the money in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you shift? Like you had a couple things I wanted to talk about. What's the number one thing that you see people need to unlearn or relearn from their past?
Yeah. Oh, great question. They need to unlearn or relearn or learn for the first time about what their relationship with money is. We grew up like you had 3 sisters and you had a mom and dad, or you had whatever your family structure was. You learned certain things about money. You either learned money doesn't grow on trees, or you learned we don't have enough for that, but we have for this, or don't waste, or whatever. Like all of those things that were incorporated in our minds, we grew up with this and we are responding to that because we haven't thought about it since then. It's ingrained in us. So that's, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say like, well, I mean, in psychology, I've studied some psychology. We tend to learn something when we're 9, 10, 11, 13, and we constantly refer to that model of our world, yes. Even though it's outdated, it's yes. What we learned, and our yes. brain, in order to automate things, is like, yes. Well, we know how that works. We know yes. that 2 + 2 = 4. I no longer have to think about it. It's there, it's stored, so we refer to it. This is where kids learn to eat Doritos all the time, yes. right? They yes. never unlearn. When you're 7 and you have a metabolism of a tiger, you can eat whatever you want and you weigh 10 pounds and like, you're great. Yeah. But then you get older and you're like, well, I'm still eating Doritos, but that's what worked.
And that doesn't work anymore.
Right. You need a new model of the world. So what you're doing is like the money stuff that you learned, and your parents did it with the best intentions.
Absolutely.
Whoever you learned from.
Yes.
Did it with the best intentions, but you can now unlearn that. So what's like, how do you do that? Because I know everyone's like, I want that.
Yeah. Well, first you have to kind of confront it. You have to interrupt that pattern, just like you said about the Doritos. You know what I mean? Like until you are like, hey, I don't feel so good now at 34 eating direct Doritos for breakfast, you know, or someone you like says something about it. Like there's all kinds of interrupters, you know, but you have to look at it for real. You know, you have to really account for it. And it's not just your parents. It's school, it's commercials, it's advertisements, it's books, it's movies. You know, like there is, if I told you to close your eyes and think about a millionaire, you thought, I'm not even going to ask you, you thought about a white male. Okay, I'm worth $1.2 million. This is what a millionaire looks like. Until you can understand that you can have the things that you want and identify what those things that you want are, then you start to question and kind of figure out what your real money story is, what your real pattern you want to be from now on. So that's what you do. We interrupt it. We get in there and we change that story. And it's painful sometimes because we are attached to it. And because, like you said, our parents did the best that they could. In most cases, everybody's doing the best that they can. In most cases, not always, but in most cases, they're doing the best that they can. And they learned from somewhere else.
Right.
Like I've been fascinated looking at my family history and figuring out why people are the way they are. But when you look at my grandparents, you know, I know why my father is because I look at my grandparents and I look at their parents and I'm like, oh, you know, but you can break the cycle without disrespecting your parents. Because I think people feel that too. They feel like, well, you know, it was good enough for my pops because he did X, Y, Z and he raised 5 kids and blah, blah, and, you know, sacrificed and whatever. Well, honor that. But you have to figure out what's right for you moving forward.
Well, I think that's, I mean, we could go down some huge rabbit holes here. The one of the things that I realized, I kind of did something that was similar to the process you're talking about. Tony Robbins went through personal power way like 6-7 years ago. But one of the things that came up for me in that was exactly what you're talking about. Well, it was good enough for my parents. And what will my parents think if I make, you know, what they make in a year, in a month?
Yeah.
What will they think if, you know, I'm doing all better? And like, what do you think your parents would think? Like, really think about this for just 1 second. They would be proud of you, right?
Yes.
But that's in our head where we have all this judgment of like, oh, they're going to think X. And that's because a lot of the movies and the media and all of that stuff, you see people, money is this is what I learned. And this is how I look at it. Money is a magnifying glass. If you're a good person without money, you're going to be a great person with money.
I say that all the time. If you win $1 million and you were generous and kind, you're still going to be generous and kind. If you were an asshole, you're going to be a bigger asshole. Okay.
Right.
That's just how it works. And so you get to decide how you want to behave and how you want to do this. And I am grateful, like you mentioned, what would your parents think? I am grateful that my father came here to Las Vegas right before he died. He came here, we moved Thanksgiving. He came here right before Christmas, and he started getting sick right after that. But we had about a week where he was healthy and strong and so damn proud of us.
That's awesome.
So damn proud, you know, and he got to say it and he got to feel it and he got to demonstrate that the influence that we can do on our parents. My father had a habit of giving us checks for our birthday for the number of years we were. So I turned 52, you know, and so he would have given me a $52 check. But this year he brought both my sister and I a check for $250. Now to him, that was $1 million.
Right.
And so it started to, you know, like he just decided that he was gonna, and he even said, you know, oh, my superstar, I'm rich like you, you know. It was just beautiful. Awesome. So think about whether you really would upset your parents or whether that's just your crap. You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%. The other thing that you touched on is like people get really attached to their story.
Yeah.
I tell stories for a living.
I know you do. So excited about your challenge.
We'll come back to stories in one second. But I do want to talk about, like, I've seen so many people, they get attached to their stories and they say that's why it's true. Like, this is the story. That's how it is. And the hardest thing with changing people's stories is you have to admit that you want a different outcome and take responsibility. Because when you tell a story that is, you know, this is what I learned, that's just how the world is. Like, if you would have said that, right, for you know, a woman, especially a
Yep.
Black woman, like it could be a challenging thing like that. You know that there are people out there that are really attached to that
Yes.
story, right?
Yes.
But you overcame that very quickly. And like, and I love that that's what you help them do, because that is so much like changing people's story. You can do anything you want, but you have to take responsibility and say, okay, I'm telling myself a new story.
Yes.
So how do you change people's story? I can tell you how to tell the story to yourself,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
want to hear what you do with women, because I think it's so much fun. Like, how
Well,
many, if
go
you're
ahead.
listening to this, like, how many people have you heard say, like, money is sexy, and like, I teach you how to have a better relationship with money through getting turned on about it? Like, who would love to get up in the morning and be like, I'm turned on by money? I'm picturing like Demi Moore rolling around in the bed
Exactly. Yes.
with all the
With the
money. And
fur and the money, and yes. Yes.
well, it was a movie. It was with Woody Harrelson. I don't remember the
Oh,
name
I
of the
remember
movie.
too. I can't remember the
It's
name,
like
but
from the
we'll.
80s.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. If anybody knows it, put it in the chat. I remember this movie. I can see her. Her hair was long. Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
no, that's just, who knows where these images come from.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so talk to me how you help them change their story. Like, what's step one? If somebody's listening to this and they're like, I want to start to change my story, what is the first thing that they need to do? Like, what's a step?
The first step is really telling the story out loud. That is the first step, because if you can say it out loud, and then you say it out loud to somebody who really knows you, who can call bullshit on you. You know what I mean? Like, sorry to curse. I'm a New Yorker. We curse. But that's the first step. And so we do that in a group. Like, what is your story? Like, and I call it like, what is your story? And you're sticking to it. You know what I mean? Like because,
Yeah.
and oftentimes when they start and I do that, and you're sticking to it, then they're like, "Ooh, I don't even like what?" I think that's the first thing, saying it out loud. The second thing is really, like, I set up this place of trust and no judgment. There is no guilt and no judgment allowed, and I tell my own bullshit too. You know what I mean? So I'm not here to be like, pointing fingers. I'm here to say, like, and this has happened. You know what I mean? I used to think this, and this is what it cost me, and this is what I did. And, I tell my whole story. I filed bankruptcy. You know what I mean? I have filed bankruptcy, and I tell some other stories too that have nothing to do with money, but let's get all the shame and blame out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, let's go there so that you can feel comfortable telling your story, because you can have whatever you want. I get a lot of people saying to me, I want your life. And I'm like, you don't want my life, but you want your ideal life and what you think this represents. And so yeah, telling the story, unvarnished truth, in whatever way you want to do. What's your story? And then I ask questions there, and also setting up a space for trust, and vulnerability.
I think so many people have shame around their story, their actions, things that happened, and like they can get really scared about it. I love that you share what happened to you.
Yeah.
Because that lets people know that it's okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wherever you're at, it's okay, and you can always change your circumstances.
Yes.
That is, and like, just getting it out and like talking about it, it's really crazy. Going back to the same Tony Robbins exercise, like, he had us write out like what our stories and what our beliefs were. Like,
Yep.
what's the number one belief that you hold in your life? And he's like, how would that have to change in order for you to get what you want?
Oh yeah.
And then like, you think about that for a little bit, and like, I wrote a few notes, and then I was like, I remember like sitting at the desk, and I was like, I was in this little teeny tiny apartment in Telluride, and I was like, and then he was like, the next question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to changing your story? And it's like, well, I like my story. And then I'm like, but it just showed that, like, I just said I have to change it. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you have a potty mouth too.
My mom somewhere right now is like, me.
Hi, Mom. That's okay.
That is okay.
She knows who her child is. She does.
So I want to circle back to your challenge. So the challenge that you're running is, what's it called?
It's called Have Fun While You Tackle Your Taxes. So tackling your taxes is for short. Yes.
I mean, I could see it like just because you want to put the sexy money in there, it should be like called orgasms and taxes or something.
That's the
Something
next name.
that probably
Yes.
wouldn't make it on. That probably wouldn't fly on Facebook. But
Yeah,
I do
I get
like
dinged a lot. Yes.
your branding works really well though, because I think it creates curiosity. Like now I'm in marketing mindset, but creates curiosity. People are like, "Ooh, I want to know more." So tell us what you're doing with this challenge, because you're not a CPA. You're not
I'm
helping them
not.
do their taxes.
No.
You're actually taking 5 days and getting them to lean forward and enjoy money
Yes.
and
Yes.
taxes.
I believe that financial wellness, which is about security and freedom, there are a whole bunch of things that are encompassed in that. And one of the things is your taxes. And that is, it's tax time. People avoid it. They either, dive in and do just the basics, like plug in the stuff in TurboTax or something, no plug for TurboTax, but any software, or they just, do the bare minimum, and they do the bare minimum, or they come and just shove a whole box of crap to like your person in H&R Block. You know what I mean? They don't understand it. They don't want to know anything about it. They don't want to look at it and whatever. And that hinders your financial wellness. I believe that financial wellness should be a self-care habit. I believe that. I think that it has to be. You have to get comfortable with your money. So I figured, why not, touch base with this? And I got audited. so I
I mean,
figured,
that's perfect.
yeah,
That's like the perfect lead in for it. So
absolutely.
talk to me. I want to know your story. I want to know, because you said I filed bankruptcy.
Yep.
I started off down one path. Like, how
Yep.
do you go from that? And what was your relationship with money
Yeah.
before you made this shift? And just walk us through that really quick, because I think that would be really, really informative for people and
So
fun.
I think it started actually with the sex stuff first, because I was getting my MBA and I was strictly like, I'm going to work on Wall Street. I'm going to work on Wall Street. And I was working for a nonprofit, a pretty staunch, blah, 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 civil rights organization. And they got a grant, a health grant. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s. HIV and AIDS was really prevalent, and it was killing Black women in communities of color, because men were having sex with men and bringing home HIV and AIDS to women. And so I was in my stupid 20s, and they got a grant for a health grant. And when they got it, they had to learn about sex. And everybody was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I was like, I'll do it. So I went to sex education school at the Red Cross and learned all this sex stuff to be able to go out to communities of color and talk to women about condom usage. So I was the condom negotiator first. Okay. No joke.
I can see you wearing that hat.
Yes. With I had my flip charts and I had my posters and I was ready. And I went into Brownsville in Brooklyn to like a housing project. And all these older ladies were there. And I come in with my charts, like, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And they were like, look, honey, we don't sleep with him, because I was like, this is how you get him to use the condom. And they're like, yeah, we understand this, but we don't sleep with him for pleasure. Like, this is a transaction. And I was like, what? Like, I couldn't even, my stupid 20 brain was like, I can't even understand this. So I started asking around in my community, like my friends, like, are you having sex for pleasure? Because I was like, and at that time I thought it was the best sex of my life. Now I'm 52 and I'm like, oh, you have no idea. But at that time I was like, yeah. So I started talking to them, and they were like, yeah, I mean, we're not prostitutes or anything, but like, he pays the bills. I let him have some, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. So I started in my program, in my MBA program, taking all these psychology classes. So I had the sex education stuff and had the psychology background, and I was getting an MBA. And I started having all these community conversations about this. Now, at the same time, I got a job on Wall Street. I was making more money than I had ever seen in my life. Now, I grew up middle class, and 2-parent household and whatever, but we didn't have a lot of money. We lived in a big, huge house, but that's a whole other story. But, so I started like making a whole bunch of money, but was miserable, absolutely miserable. I had to be a different person in Wall Street, very suited, very competitive. I was young and black and a woman, had to fight my whole way to make all this money. And I did it, and I made a whole bunch of money. Then I got another job. I'm still doing these little community conversations, talking about sex and, talking about relationships and stuff in my free time after working like 60, 70 hours on Wall Street. I then left that job and went to my dream job at a major airline where I was the in-house executive coach. I did leadership development, all filled my soul, but I was making no money. Okay, so you see the both the sides.
I think everybody believes, I just want to point this out. If you're listening to this and you're like, that's how money works. You either make all the money and you're miserable, or you make no money and you're not miserable.
Yeah.
Wendy's about to blow your mind.
It doesn't have to be that way. I remember that I had to, and I was wondering about that. And then I was having these little workshops on the side about pleasure and about sex. And then I started practicing what I was preaching. Like I was very compartmentalized. When I was making a whole bunch of money, I didn't have time for pleasure, because I'm making this money and I have to keep that up. Then when I wasn't making a whole bunch of money, I was loving my job, but I couldn't afford to do anything. And I was like, what the hell, And I was still finding time to teach other people about pleasure. Has anybody ever taught something that they need to do themselves? You know what I mean? Or is it just me? Okay, it's just me, right?
I think everybody.
Okay. And so I started incorporating pleasure into what I was doing. So now I'm working at this amazing job, not making a lot of money. And I started incorporating pleasure, and I started getting hired to do more and more of the, sex workshops and relationship coaching and doing all of that stuff. So the money started coming up. Now, during this time, when I was working on Wall Street, physically, I wasn't feeling very well. And from 29 to 40, I was sick. I was sick. Because I was busy and focused on making the money and not focusing on feeling good, I think my illness lasted much longer than it had to. I really do. In hindsight, I think if I had to turn this up quicker, I would have been able to heal myself. So now I'm working. I left Wall Street. I'm working at my dream job, not making a lot of money, and the medical bills started coming and coming and coming. $310,000 worth of medical bills I had from that 11 years. And that's when I filed bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of shame about that. I had a lot of shame because I had used all my money that I made. My house was paid off, all my student loans were paid off, whatever. So I felt guilty that, I'm taking the easy way out and I shouldn't get, file bankruptcy and everything. And then I just kind of sat in it. And I decided to use what I knew about all three things, from a psychological perspective, how am I going to, change my mindset about bankruptcy and change my mindset about shame and all of that? How am I going to strategically build my money? And how am I going to keep myself turned on so I could have everything that I want? And that's really how Sexy Money came about. That's how it all came about. And so now this is what I do full time. I will never work for anyone else again in my life. And I believe in this so much because it's not complicated, but it is a process that you need to learn because no one ever combines these things. They never combine. They either do mindset. You just need to feel the abundance. I'm a New Yorker, so not very woo-woo.
You just got woo face.
Yes, but you feel the essence of the money coming to you and the abundance of blah blah blah. Or it's you need a budget. You need a budget, and if you just do this, then you can do that.
Now you just turned into Jim Cramer.
Exactly. Oh, and then you have people who are if you just, increase your feminine aura, it's kind of woo-woo, but it's all about the woman and blah, blah, blah. And I do all of that, but I'm a straight shooter. And I don't, like you said, I think you said something earlier about you got to want to change, I don't work with anybody who's half-assing it. You don't have to know how to do it, but don't bullshit me. Because this is so important and I can only help but so many people at a time that if you're not in it, and trying, and I'm going to call you on it. I'm going to say, the other thing is I'm in a body language class right now, but since I was a child, I've been able to call bullshit. My mother says that, like, in the stroller, I would be like, this face would come over me and I would be like, no, as a toddler. Like, I just inherently could know if you were trustworthy, if you were telling the truth. And so I've been doing that for years, and finally I'm taking a full class now to learn out why I know what I know. But yeah, so I have these skills also.
That's we might have to do a face reading fun.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That would be a fun show, like rapid fire, like just bring some people on and be like, truth, not truth. What are you, what's on your mind?
Ooh, like, that sounds fun. Yep. I am not an expert, but I am learning about why I know what I know. And shameless plug for Janine Driver. If you don't know who she is, you need to find her TED Talk about, she talks about what we can learn from serial killers. It is fascinating. And that's how I signed up for her class. So I digress. Awesome. Yeah.
That is okay. I love your story, and I think so many women, I think men need it too. They may not approach it the same way. I definitely understand why you work solely with women now. And that makes a lot of sense. I think if you're a woman out there and you're listening to this, you need to check Wendy out. If you go to her Facebook page, she's tagged in this post. Go to her Facebook page. She's got all her links in her bio. You should definitely check her out. When is your challenge starting?
My challenge is April 5th through 9th. So it's a week from today. Yes.
It is the same dates of my challenge. My challenge is how to build your story. If you want to know how to tell a great story that gets people to lean in and give you organic leads, I'll quickly put up a plug for it.
Yes. Please, please.
Challenge.
And your challenge is so good that while I'm doing my challenge, I'm going to participate in your challenge because I love stories. I think they're juicy and I love to lean in. So I'm excited about yours too.
Well, fun. My challenge takes 20 minutes a day.
Yep.
Your challenge
takes 5 minutes a day.
5 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes to better taxes.
Yes.
Better relationships with money. That is pretty awesome. So go check Wendy out for sure. If you want to join my challenge, the link is right there. I'll post it down below as well. Unlock your story, 5 days.
Love it.
I got 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay. I'm ready.
You ready?
Yes.
You in it?
Yes.
What is one book that everybody should read about money?
Oh, Die Broke. Huh. Yes. Die Broke. It changed my mind about inheritance. And just one quick tip. So if you are like, I gotta amass this money for my children and whatever, let me tell you, your children don't need it when they're 60, when you die at 80. They need some help when they're 30 to buy their first place or to start a business or whatever. So Die Broke his premise is when they write the check for your funeral, the check should bounce because you should enjoy your money and not save it for your kids who should be doing their own thing and need help much sooner.
Who's the author?
Matthew Pollan, I think it is. I think it's Pollan. I'll put it in the chat. I'll find it. Yeah.
Die Broke by Stephen Pollan.
Yes.
Stephen Pollan, trusted financial advisor to millions.
So good.
What is one thing people should do right now today to make themselves feel better? Not necessarily with money, just in general. What is one thing that women can do to feel better about themselves right now?
Yes. About themselves right now is concentrate on pleasure. Okay. So if you haven't taken your shower yet, then you need to really be aware of the soap. Does it smell good? You need to be really aware of whether you like it quiet or whether you should put some music on while you're in the shower. If you haven't had your breakfast, look at the plate that you have. Is that something that's beautiful to you? Level up your pleasure awareness. I call it pleasure interval training. You have to get into that zone. And so it'll just help you feel better. If you notice that it's not, you can do something about it. If you notice that it is, you can focus on it.
All right. I wish you had your mug with you. The last question, I set up the entire thing, but does size matter, Wendy?
Yes.
Perfect. On that note, make sure you check out Wendy to join her challenge. Make sure you check out Unlock Your Story Challenge so you can tell stories and generate organic leads. And until next Monday, take action, change lives, make money, have fun, laugh, enjoy yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much, Steve. This was so much fun. I love you. I'm so excited about your challenge and grateful for this opportunity to talk to your peeps. You guys can find me, my Facebook page, my business page, Instagram, Facebook. Much love. We'll post my challenge in the chat.
Yes, everything will be in the chat.
Yes, yes, yes.
And we will see you next week.
See ya.